We're going to talk today in this webinar about the unique challenges of protecting critical infrastructure networks and the UtiliSOC solution. Avi Chesla, CEO and founder of Empow, will take us through the presentation. The agenda we're going to go through includes the threats and challenges that utilities are facing today. We'll review a little bit about who we are, Empow, and our partners, Modern Grid Partners. We'll go through the UtiliSOC service solution, advanced methods to classify and prioritize threats, a reporting example from UtiliSOC which shows the user experience. Avi will take us through a security use case demo, and we'll see the ISIM solution in action, and we will go through the summary of benefits. So thank you again, everyone, for joining us. I'd like to turn over the webinar to Avi Chesla, CEO and founder of Empow.
Thank you very much, and thanks for joining the webinar today. So first of all, we would like to go very briefly about what we see in the utilities in terms of the threat landscape. So a few facts that just emphasize that obviously utilities are target for attacks, and you can see that they're over there on the slide itself. We are talking about at least 56% reports about shutdown and data loss incidents within the utilities-based organization or companies. About 25 or more reported that there was a real impact by mega attacks, which means some attacks that are really amplifying to a level that put this organization in denial of service, etc. Most of the organization really expect, or let's say that there is a high sense of urgency about against future attacks and more advanced threats than they see already today. While in terms of readiness and maturity of the security infrastructure, only about 31% believe that they have the right tools in place and security operation to contain a breach effectively. In terms of time to respond, which include, of course, the time to detect, investigate, and time to resolve attack, it's long, and we see that it's not different than in other organizations in the industry all over the world. We're talking about at least 70 days after the outage that the real investigation was able to identify the root cause of the attack and the attack itself. With smaller organization, and this is not surprising, typically the time to detect and response is higher. And this is especially because the skill gap in the cybersecurity area, as well as the size of the team and the number of security analysts that these organizations have in order to be able to monitor the organization and the IT infrastructure, sort through the noise and false positive of alerts, and know how to prioritize the right attack and entities at risk and respond.
Hey everybody, it's Dave. Hi, Avi.
Hi, Dave.
Thanks for those that have joined. Let me just jump right in here to the next slide. So we want to talk a little bit about our two organizations. So we were founded in 2015, and we provide consulting services for national and international utilities, including municipal, cooperative, and public utility districts. We have about 32 utility customers and growing throughout the U.S. and Canada. And one of the things we found over the time that we've been working in this space was that there was, our utility customers have had a need for some additional support both in their IT and especially in that cybersecurity space. So as a result, we've had an opportunity to work together with MPOW, and Avi, I'll let you speak specifically about MPOW, and then look forward to talking to everybody here the rest of the way.
Yeah, sure. Thanks you, David. So very briefly about MPOW. MPOW is an Israeli-based cybersecurity company. We founded the company about 5 years ago. We are in the area of next generation security information event management category, as the market defining today. We are heavily focused and investing in the technology. As you will see, we have different types of proprietary algorithms and capabilities that allow security operations centers, including managed service providers like Modern Grid, to automate a lot of the work and be able to, through that, to really reduce the time of detection and response and detecting very advanced type of threats that focus on the infrastructure for utilities companies. We have about 16 patents in the area of security automation from different branches in the artificial intelligence world, 8 already granted. One of the important things to highlight, we have a strategic agreement, commercial partnership with Elasticsearch, with the company. And that means that our stack backend is based on the Elastic Stack, which make our system and technology very scalable and robust in terms of the data search and the ability to provide a data lake with very rich log analytics capabilities. We have customers from medium to large size enterprises and managed security services provider in US and in Europe.
Awesome, Avi, thanks so much. And so one of the things that we did at Modern App, we thought, together with our colleagues at MPOW, that we had the opportunity to provide a service that would support our utility customers, and that's when we came up with UtiliSOC. And it really is unlike your traditional on the utility space. And again, it's as I say here, 100% utility phone. We offer security for both your IT and OT systems, essentially any IP system. We're an Amazon-based cloud-based solution. And we effectively can support your NERC, SIP, water, ISAC, C2M2, and other compliance requirements. So we, through our log management and the things that you're going to learn about the intelligent SIM capabilities, we have a lot of capabilities within this solution to support those requirements and those compliance needs. So, and we're staffed by a team of utility experts, 24/7, 365 days a year in our SOC. And I'll turn it over to you, Avi. I think the next slide is.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. Oh no, I take it back. It's our case study. I will take it from here. So we just a brief example. We recently selected to deploy UtiliSOC for a municipality out in California, and they had recently experienced a hacking scenario, and they were obviously completely blind to the attack, as most people would be, but really had no systems in place to protect themselves. So they selected our UtiliSOC solution to give them some insight into threats in their corporate and critical infrastructure assets. And really what I want to point out as you could imagine, when you put a system like this in place, you would expect results immediately. And of course, that's what happened. So, on day one, with our deployment of UtiliSOC, we were able to immediately identify that they were still being attacked. They were experiencing brute force attacks, and being able to see that and address it. Our team immediately addressed it and reported to the customer, providing them, some immediate value on their investment. So it's just huge for us to obviously be able to show the customer that the solution works. Our folks were mining the store and brought it to their attention and resolved the issue. So I think it's very, very powerful description of what the tool can do.
Thanks, Dave. So we will, this part, I will take the opportunity to explain a little bit how the technology work behind the scene in order to classify the organization data in a way that allow us to get insight into any kind of threat that is being developed and prioritize the real ones. So we used to show that based on the cyber data pyramid that is illustrated in that slide. The platform which empowered the UtiliSOC, expanding that bottom up, can and does digest any kind of data coming from a large diversity of security tool and IT infrastructure components, either if it's in the cloud or on-prem. So each managed customers provide us data, including structured and unstructured data coming from endpoint security solution to network-based security solution. We integrate into that threat intelligence feeds into this lower level, and our ability to classify that data into groups of attack behaviors is one of the things that makes us really unique. We have the ability through different AI algorithm we have developed, the ability to classify or investigate and classify each log that we collect automatically and map it into potential attack behavior. In order to do that effectively, we map these behaviors into the MITRE ATT&CK framework terminology. And this is a very useful and effective terminology that used by the cybersecurity community, the researchers and the analysts. And all that process is being done automatically via three data classification technologies. One is NLP. NLP is a branch in AI. It's a natural language processing algorithm that allow us to read the logs automatically, understand what are the potential risks, and tag it accordingly. We also look for behavioral anomalies, and we're talking about user activities and network traffic activities. The system learns, adapts the normal patterns on flag about anomalies in that area. And all that information is being normalized into this one language. This language is being used by the next step in the middle of the pyramid by another algorithm that we have developed, which we call the cause and effect algorithms. These algorithms really emulate the way that and the decision-making process that the security analysts will do. Security analysts need to create different types of search patterns, create different types of alert filters in order to do investigation, including correlation and triage. He or she, they need to create and maintain many security rules, static rules usually. And our algorithms do that automatically, and by that, we know how to prioritize only the logs that really impose a risk or actually create a situation that we should take care of and focus on. And that brings us to the top of the pyramid, where our technology allow the SOC operation, in this case of UtiliSOC, to really be focused only on a few entities that are really at high risk. Because as you might be familiar with the situation today, most of the data that is collected, and there is huge amount of data, is false positive or noise. And the challenge of understanding what is real or not, it's a challenge that is unsolved yet, and it requires a lot of expertise and manual work, and all that contribute, of course, to the time, to a long time to detect and investigate, and obviously to respond to attacks. So this is a few level of automation, proprietary technologies that we have developed in order to do that. Just to give you an illustration, behind the scene, what actually the UtiliSOC analyst sees. Simply show the value and the power of our system to really draw for the analyst the attack story. Our representation layer know how to visualize only the real attacks. What you see here is an attack story based on the cyber kill chain model. The dots here represent entities, some external entities that try to access or infect internal entities in the organization, in the managed customer premises, and as well as any kind of lateral movement and impact within the organization, including exfiltration, any kind of data leak incidents as well. If information is being leaked out from the organization, is being visualized here. This is the result of the cause and effect analytics engine and algorithms. This is the result of clustering the log into attack story. And just to understand how it makes the life of the analyst much better, the triage that usually can take hours and sometimes more of investigating the attack, with our system takes seconds and less. And this obviously provides better insight into attack, into the real alerts and entity that you should look at. So this is one thing that should show how we prioritize the attack. The other thing is that, attack can involve many entities outside of the organization as well as inside the organization. Our system helps in that as well to pinpoint or highlight only the entities, these users or email addresses or hosts, servers within your organization that are the pivot of the attack. And we use here algorithms based on the cause and effect that identify high intensity of activity, including identification of persistent attack patterns on these entities. And by doing that, we can provide to the analysts a list of what we call the top hosts or top users, sorted according to a security score. And the security score indicates what the analyst should focus on and what are the risks that associate with each one of the entities. This operation is being done in near real time. So every few seconds, the top list is being updated, and create a situation that the service level agreement of the managed security provider can be with very, very high quality in terms of time to detect and, of course, to response, as well as covering advanced threat and not just the basic things. One of the things that really helped the analyst to work and make or create a fast turnaround in terms of response is our ability to provide all the required details of each user and host that is under high risk in the organization, and be able to provide very effective report of who is the user, what are the next action that the user should do or we should do for the user in order to eliminate the attack. So this is just an example of what we call the entity card. Once the security analyst see on his dashboard that one of the organization has a high score entity, he can immediately see all the details and the context of this entity within the organization, which mean how much is sensitive, what is the privilege level, and through that can prioritize the response and different types of response techniques. So with that, I would like to give you a very brief overview of how the system looks like. So I will switch to the dashboard here of the system. Let me just refresh that, making sure that it's logged in. Okay, so this is the main dashboard of that the security analyst in UtiliSOC sees. And what you can see here, I just want one of the area here is the data sources status. With any kind of security monitoring service, you first of all need to understand and identify if there is enough data being fed to the system. If there are some anomalies or failures of bringing the data, maybe the security tools were failing, maybe there is communication issue, it's immediately identified through that dashboard. And if there are things that should be fixed immediately or tuned, there are alerts that provide analysts a way to see that, and making sure that the health of the system is all the time in good condition. Otherwise, all the other analytics methods that is used on top of the data really renders useless. So this is just to show you that there is a high level of service and quality that the system provide, making sure that the 24/7 monitoring never stops. And I will go and show you a few other dashboards that are more focused on the security. So it starts with a top entities view. So each managed customers is being monitored, and the top hosts or top entities, users and emails are being visualized per each one of the managed network. And what you can see is what we just explained in the previous slides. You can see the top hosts that are under risk. You can also see the top users. I will just switch here, the user in the organization that we think that they are at higher risk or maybe already compromised. And from each one of these hosts, we'll just go again to the host. You can go and drill down very quickly, only one click, in order to see the host condition. We see what type of attacks or techniques of attacks are being used against the host. And what I will click here right now, you will see that this specific host also become a real actor within the organization, real performer of an attack, which indicates that this host is really compromised and actually start to do some malicious activities within the organization, like probing and other type of brute force attack and so on. It can be any type of lateral movement within the organization. You can also see that the analyst can just, with one click, see who is the owner of that host. We see that there is a user called Amelia, all the information about it, and from there, continue and investigate it. So in less than a minute, if there is a high score entity, if it's a user or host, the analyst can immediately see the information associated with that, and then can go into the full attack story that this entity is part of. And this is very important because when the analysts look on a high-risk entity, he needs to understand two things. One, is it really compromised or not? And second, if it's compromised, what is the level of organization impact it has? And what you see here, this is what we call the attack story, the highlighted entity in the middle. This is the host, which Amelia, which we started from. And we actually see different types of relationship between that host to external entities, highlighting right now, and internal entities within the organization. This basically means that the attack is not just focused on one entity, it actually spread, and there is some lateral movement, which means there is further or more wider impact within the organization. And that will raise the sense of urgency around it in order to further investigate and respond immediately. One of the things that the analyst can do from here is really see who are the performers of these attacks and immediately create prevention measure in order that these performers will not have any access to your organization, to the managed customer network anymore, and by that create a more proactive measure against these attacks. And of course, isolate the specific entities that are already compromised. Another thing that I wanted to show is the reports. These are more high-level reports that the system provides out of the box. These are being generated ad hoc based on the information that is required. There are a lot of customization that you can do. Just to give you an example, one of them is the attacks dashboard that show per customer how many events were aggregated, number of attacks that identify, and you also see that only one high-risk attack was prioritized. This is actually show you the funnel and the level of automation that we are doing here in order to provide much more focus on the entities and the real attacks in the organization. Another thing that we provide as part of the platform, which we provided to you through UtiliSOC, is more executive level reports like you see here. It can be on a weekly basis or a monthly basis, and show really what we are doing for you. What is the service actually done for you, from the funnel of how many logs were aggregated and how many attacks were actually identified as real one. And the same goes to users and hosts. At the same time, we show some productivity parameters, how many processes were automated in the investigation of each attack and entity, and how much time it took to make all that automatically. So we'll go back to the slides. Talk about some more information about external repos. So this is the type of things that the service will provide you with. And again, can be customized for more specific needs. But in general, if you talk to you, who are the top victims that we have identified within the network, the top performer. The top performer will be used, of course, in order to prevent further incident or external deliveries or any kind of access attempts from these sources. And by the way, we of course use the global intelligence that we get from various customers in order to make sure that we prevent attacks, obviously before they're trying to attack your organization specifically. Other thing that we show is how many real attacks were identified, and not less important, we also provide you a way to evaluate your data sources. You know, each one of the customers has different types of protection and some data sources within the IT infrastructure. How useful they were in detecting the attack is important information as well. So I will let Dave a little bit explain about how the UtiliSOC infrastructure look like. Dave?
Yeah, thanks, Avi. So yeah, you have a picture here in front of you of how that, as I mentioned, you know, we operate in the cloud up in Amazon Web Services, and you know, the core infrastructure starts again, backing up to what Avi had said about our partnership, our combined partnership with Elastic in this relationship. You know, we utilize Logstash for data collection. So we would collect Logstash information locally. That data would be sent up to our Logstash environment in the cloud, where we then perform our analysis that Avi has shown you. So we establish, you know, secure connections up to the cloud. Pretty straightforward, very effective. And then, as you saw, all the things that Avi just showed you in the demo, you know, those are all the things that we can do with that data. And Avi, Avi, is there anything else you wanted to add to that?
Yeah, I just wanted to add, you know, things that might be also valuable for you. You should know that each managed customer basically have like something like a virtual data lake for himself, and there is a separation in terms of the tenants that allow to analyze any kind of log that is being digested. There is a great emphasis about security. So all the information between the on-prem network, the environment of the customer to the cloud is completely secured. And of course, the infrastructure is secured as well. One of the things that we digest all the time are threat intelligence feeds, IOCs of different types, and we incorporates here multiple data sources of threat intelligence, including commercial ones and open data threat intelligence sources. And all that really contribute to the protection beyond the individual security tools that you have within each network.
Perfect. Thanks, Avi. That's great. And then to kind of just to summarize some of the benefits. So as we've tried to show, you know, it's really simple to administer and manage. The process of onboarding is very streamlined. We have centralized threat and health monitoring dashboards. We talk about, you know, the fact that you can go on demand and we can scale in minutes. Again, the advantage of being in the cloud, you know, in Amazon cloud, we have that flexibility to scale quickly and scale per customer. As Avi was just mentioning, it's a multi-tenant environment, so we have complete tenant isolation, so no data is shared between tenants. And then we touched on some of the dashboard and reporting capabilities. So really creating more value by being able to customize for your needs and any specific use cases that you have. So, again, back to our partnership, it's been a really great partnership in the fact that we can offer our customers these robust capabilities as well as the customization that our customers want to see. So it's a very powerful combination. So I really appreciate that, you sharing all these details and the opportunity to share our UtiliSOC solution with everybody who joined us today.
Yes. Yeah, I have nothing further to add. I think we can open the session to any question that the attendees might have.
Does anyone have any questions? Okay, if not, I believe we'll end the session. We will make this video available. We'll also mail it to everyone who attended and registered. And we thank you very much for joining us today, and we'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Avi and Mickey.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Dave.
Bye-bye.